Hello and welcome, this is Type V3, and today I'm doing something a little bit third party. That's right, I'm taking a look at the FansProject TFX-04 Protector. This is the set that takes your classics or Henkei Rodimus and turns them into Rodimus Prime. But first, let's check out the box. Now, the Protector Upgrade set comes in this very nice and simple packaged box. I like its simple and minimalist design. However, if I do have to call any criticisms towards it, it's that sometimes when I buy a figure, I like to be able to see what I'm buying, or at least have a picture or a silhouette of the product inside. And on this box, apart from some warnings and some stuff that's written on the back, there's really no indication as to what is inside this box. It's a small little grape, nothing too serious, but hey, for those that care, that's what it is. Opening it up, we have ourselves the actual product, and you'll see that it comes with the Classics wings to put on the Classics Rodimus. Now, for the purposes of this review, I'm actually not using those. I'll be using the chrome ones that come with the sidearm figure that I'll show in another video. So just keep that in mind. Inside the box, you see that there is the instruction booklet and a comic that we will come back to in a bit, because on the inside packaging is this nice little illustration of the Protector set being used in its base mode. So very nice stuff. As mentioned before, there is a comic that comes with this Protector set, and for the most part, it's a pretty terrible comic. I mean, storytelling is not great at all. It's not a good thing. But it comes with a lot of nice pictures. So, for the art, yeah, it's pretty cool. The comic itself, not that fun. The instructions are also included here, and the big criticism I'll have here is that they are very, very small. A lot of times I found myself squinting more than once at different panels just to figure out what I'm supposed to do. It also kind of doesn't help that the official figure that they use has been blacked out in all the other panels, so sometimes it is a bit difficult to make it out. But, you know what, for the most part, it's pretty cool. Also, a little hint at something here, 20,000 BC, who knows what that's about. One of the first things you'll have to do with the Protector set is to basically finish up the display. So, you'll have to add on the corresponding wings. Like I've said, I'm using the chromed wings, and one thing I'll mention first is the chromed versions of these wings are actually slightly thicker due to the chrome plating, and that makes some of it a bit of a hassle to stick on. For example, for the bottom parts, when you stick on both of these wings here, they don't always want to clip in together and stay locked tight. When you put in one, the other one wants to pop out a bit. So with a bit of work, you can get them both to stay, but just keep that in mind. After closing up the doors, you have yourself a finished Protector trailer. The big overall theme comprised in the Protector trailer is its use of harsh and jagged angles. From the exhaust stacks, to that flame pattern, to all the little details, they're all jagged and harsh angles. It's a design that you'll probably either love or hate instantly. I personally love it, but don't get me wrong, if you like smooth and curved features, this trailer will not appeal to you. But enough staring at just the trailer. After all, this is an upgrade kit, so let's throw on Rodimus and see what we've got ourselves to work with. Combining the Protector trailer with Rodimus is actually a simple affair. It basically comprises of opening the doors, place Rodimus in, and close the doors. The addition of a new placement for the missile is also a nice touch. When combined, we have ourselves Rodimus Prime in his full Space Winnebago mode, and it's very interesting, this figure. I really don't know what to think about it. It's not ugly, but it's not pretty. It's very bulky, but it doesn't look very powerful. It's got a lot of little sleek aerodynamic features, but as a whole it looks like a giant box. It's a very intriguing design. One thing I will note is that the actual trailer itself has a more matte paint job, whereas the Rodimus figure is a bit more glossy, so there is a little bit of disconnect there, but it's not too much that it will throw anyone off. One of the greatest things I like is how the exhausts seem to both line up and then sort of paint this flame splatter on the side of the trailer. Now, of course, what if you only have the Battle in Space Rodimus? Well, to be honest, it looks okay. The colors don't really match up, the wheels don't match up, but because it's the same mold, I guess you can say it sorta works. If anything, the bright, dull yellow wing actually matches much better than any of the chrome wings I've ever seen. But as a whole, it's not something you're gonna wanna be proud of having. In terms of size, Rodimus ends up becoming a little bit bigger than your standard Voyager. In fact, it kinda is about the same size of an average Ultra Class figure. You know, that size class of toys that's been now retired. Anyways, enough about looking at this figure in its alt mode, let's take a look at Rodimus when he's fully transformed. The sequence from truck to robot is a very long and complicated process on this piece, so you're going to want to take things very slow. After unfolding and opening the trailer, you're going to want to unclip certain parts and be very careful not to damage any of the tabs that hold them in place. One important thing to note is that not all of the trailer will be used to make their robot mode. In fact, most of it will be left behind to make a base station, so only the pieces you pulled off will be in fact used to create Rodimus. After pulling the chest from the torso, creating the arms and legs is a simple matter, requiring some folding and a little bit of retabbing to create the limbs. The last piece you'll need to make is using the original Rodimus weapon and combining it with a new part from the trailer itself. To prep Rodimus for the combination, you just gotta fold his arms back and fold in his hands. In terms of his lower body, just folding his feet back will do and you're all set to go. When you're all set, all you gotta do is take each of the trailer pieces and connect it to the corresponding limb. The secret here is that each of them clip over a certain wheel. It's very simple to see. The hardest part is getting his chest to stay in, or even just connecting at that point. It comes under in his crotch and then over his chest. After placing the head and the wing bits, you're all done and you've got yourself a fully upgraded Rodimus Prime. And he's definitely one awesome looking robot. The number one thing that this robot mode succeeds at is proportion, and definitely brings the Rodimus figure into proper scale. Before it seemed like his body was too big for his limbs. I love the head even though it's not quite G1 accurate. But the most impressive feature is his chest. The whole 3D effect is incredible, and it's definitely something that you have to see in person, because it's just too cool. In terms of size, he's definitely about the average Voyager size that you would expect, and compares well against modern Transformers that are released on the market today. Now, the original Hot Rod toy was pretty cool, but it did fall flat in the articulation department. So this upgrade kit actually fixes most of that figure's problems. To start things off, he still has the same neck swivel, and he's got the same ball-jointed shoulders, only now he's got a bicep cut there, and a elbow joint, and he's even got this little weird like forearm slash double elbow joint there, and a swivel wrist, so he can definitely pull off some better poses there. Unfortunately, there's still no waist going on, and he still has the same sort of hip joint, and the only thing pretty bad about this though is when you bend the knee, you can tell that the proportions are a bit off, and he has a massive lower leg and a very small thigh. When he's standing, it actually looks just fine, but the minute he bends a leg, it almost looks like it just looks weird. It looks like he has a huge oversized foot. Another thing to note though, he's got a little bit of a ankle tilt there so he can have wide-legged poses, and I really like that touch. Now in terms of weaponry, he does have a new blaster. Now this piece actually takes place of the old missile, so there is no sort of launching missile anymore, and I'm totally cool with that. I never was a fan of the missile, flame missile thing. So basically it could just peg into any one of his hands, not that he has more than two, and it kind of fits just like that. Unfortunately, because the back end barrel is so big, he can only hold it straight if his arm is extended, and that's fine. Another problem though is, because of his transformation, he ends up with a piece here, and aesthetically, yeah, it looks kind of awkward, but my biggest problem is when he moves his shoulder, it always bangs into the wing, and that can be pretty annoying, and as you can see, it can cause this part to fall off, so it's a little bit of a complaint, but it's not too annoying. Now, while this look may not exactly resemble Rodimus Prime, I still think it's a fantastic figure, but I will concede that it's not a look that goes for everyone, and I won't try and convince you if you don't like it, because there's just no use in that. However, what if you are interested, but you still only have the Battle in Space Rodimus? Well, I've got good news for you. I actually think he looks pretty darn good in the upgraded protector suit. In fact, I kind of like the difference of reds better than the regular Rodimus suit. It could just be me, I could just be crazy, but I think it looks fine, and if this is all you're going for, then definitely pick it up. However, those baby blue windows are still kinda hideous to look at. Of course, this robot mode isn't it. There is one more thing that this set has to offer, and that is the trailer. And here it is in its new tank form. Well, at least that's what I think it is. It's got wheels and some sort of turret thing, so yeah, I guess it's a mobile tank. To tell you the truth, I really don't understand the look of this thing, though. Of course, probably the biggest issue about calling this thing a tank is, well, I don't know how it's supposed to roll, because even though it has wheels, it has this huge black stump there that just kind of impedes it from rolling anywhere. Also, I guess if it's called a tank, it should have a driver, so if you have yourself a little mini-con, you could always just put him in there like that, and there you go. He looks cute. He's driving a tank, and I guess that's what it's for. But there is one other thing you can do with this. Let me show you. Taking out the pilot and giving this whole thing a couple quick adjustments, you can make something that's meant for the Rodimus figure himself. What you can make is a battle base meant for Rodimus Prime. Now, the first thing I asked myself when I saw this is, how is it balancing on that little stump? But I guess I really shouldn't question that because it is standing there after all. Its overall look is pretty cool, and I like how Rodimus can hold it, and I like how the whole thing integrates with his look. It just matches him perfectly. Of course, you would expect that because they are coming from the same set of parts. Now, this is the last accessory that the trailer comes with, and it basically is a little spin-off of Roller, only for Rodimus. So what it can do is actually, by flipping this up and around, you can take that old ugly blue missile and stick it in, and hey, it's got a place, and it looks wonderful. The top has these two different size holes depending on what kind of guns you want to attach. So if you want to use Rodimus's bigger gun, you could just use the bigger peg hole and stick it in just like that, and he looks pretty awesome. In fact, I like this robot mode, or this vehicle mode, excuse me, way better than Hot Rod's actual vehicle mode. And like I said, if you want to use the smaller one, because you want to use a smaller gun, you can use that. And it sits in just fine. So it's a pretty cool thing. It doesn't really do much apart from having 12 wheels, but hey, it's pretty cool to me. So what's the final verdict on the FansProject Protector set? Well, there's really only one question you have to answer, and that is, do you like the look of the armored up Rodimus Prime? Because if you don't, then I really can't convince you on him, and instead what you should do is go out and buy something like the Masterpiece Hot Rod. However, if you are interested in this set, I would say definitely go for it. You won't regret your purchase. Of course, you will need a proper working Hot Rod Deluxe figure already to go with this, but if you got everything else, then you're good to go. Anyways, thanks for watching. This has been Type B3. I hope you've enjoyed this lengthy review, and I'll catch you guys next time.